Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the City of Farmers Branch regular City Council meeting. It is Tuesday, September 7th, 2021. The time is 6:01 p.m. We will begin with our invocation and Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Councilmember Ratana.
Let us pray. Loving Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your blessings and your help. We pray for guidance throughout today's meeting on the matters at hand, and lead us to conduct our work with the spirit of collaboration and joy. Help us work together and encourage each other to reach higher and farther, to do what is best for our great city and a park. Please watch over our community, our first responders, and all. We ask this in your name. Amen. Now for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now for the Texas Pledge.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Next up is our ceremonial items. First is the recognition of Francis Dickerson for 45 years of dedicated service to the City of Farmers Branch Police Department. You want to come forward? So we're here today to celebrate Francis Dickerson, who, as a school crossing guard with the police department, has served 45 years in counting for dedicated service to the children and citizens of Farmers Branch. Francis has spent countless hours assisting our children each and every day across a busy street intersection as they arrive and depart from school. Francis, as many crossing guards do, often encounter adversarial, dangerous, and sometimes hostile attitudes from individuals who are more concerned with their own personal agendas than the safety of school children. She has made child safety and awareness her top priority to ensure the safe passage of our youngest and most vulnerable. Then Police Chief Roger Robbins hired Francis on the spot on February 17, 1996. Francis has crossed children at 3 different intersections throughout her career and for 4 elementary schools. Francis is married to her husband, Billy Dickerson, who is also a school crossing guard. She has 3 children, 9 grandchildren, and 13 great-grandchildren. Francis, and 3 more in the oven. quick addendum. Francis's hobbies include working out at the Farmers Branch Recreation Center and riding her scooters. Francis has commented that former Blair Intermediate School principal Ken Chow Jackson gave her a huge hug and told her when she was an elementary student, she remembered being assisted across the intersection by Francis. And before we further recognize Francis, I know the police chief has a few things that he would like to say as well.
Wow, what a career. And you're still going to do, what, another 25 with us? One day at a time. Thank you so much for so many years of dedicated service to us in this great community. Getting kids across the street, getting them in the school safely, I don't know anything that could be more important, and you have done it very well. You're a friend. I've known you for many, many years, and we greatly appreciate all you do in service to this community, so thank you. So I'd like to present you with this plaque from the Farmers Branch Police Department, Francis Dickerson, School Crossing Guard, in recognition of 45 years of service, September 7th, 2021.
E2 is the presentation of a 5-year service pin to Sherelle Evans-Jones for her service to the City of Farmers Branch. Ms. Evans-Jones.
baby RPG. Much baby RPG.
This service award is provided to Sherelle Evans-Jones for 5 years of service to the City of Farmers Branch. Sherelle began her career with the city in September of 2016 as the Director of Finance, coming to the city with extensive experience and increased responsibility, serving previously as the Chief Financial Officer of Clyde Warren Park. Sherelle currently manages the Finance Department with oversight of all financial operations of the city. This includes municipal court, purchasing, accounting, utility billing, and utility billing. She performs her job at a high level and ensures all the city's financial assets are safeguarded. Sherelle has accomplished completion of the year-long Phase 1 of the city's conversion of its financial system to the Tyler Technologies ERP system. Phase 1 was completed in February 2019. Phase 4 is slated to go live in February of 2022. Sherelle and her team did the system implementation while completing all required financial audits and budgeting processes. Sherelle has had 5 years of successful budget adoptions and audited financial statements with recognition each year from the Government Finance Officers Association of the United States and Canada. Her biggest accomplishment is managing and building an amazing team, all with unique needs and skill sets, and keeping everyone moving towards a common goal, all while keeping a smile on her face. And outside of that, even though Sherelle lives in Louisville and her husband serves in the Louisville City Council, she has also ingrained herself in the City of Farmers Branch, not only in her involvement in some of our social services, but also with some of our arts program, helping to build that up from a smaller organization to what it is today. You know, without that leadership, without going above and beyond and truly immersing yourself in our community, I don't think we would be as well off. And so it's not only your leadership from the finance side, and I know we're going through the budget process now, so definitely commend you on that work. I know you and your team are all tired, but just want to thank you for coming to Farmers Branch, your leadership, and not only what you mean to us from the staff side, but also from the community side as well. With that, I will turn it over to Charles Goss.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to just echo many of the words that the mayor's already mentioned. Being the CFO for a city is sometimes a daunting task. From my perspective, 5 years has flown by. From Sherelle's perspective, it probably took way longer. But I've really admired her dedication and her work ethic and the strengths that she brings to this city. Many times they say that when you have someone new, they have big shoes to fill. Well, in Sherelle's case, she created her own shoes. So those of you that know her well know that her shoe collection just is pretty monumental. It's great to that you're here, and congratulations on 5 years.
So I walked in here 5 years ago on the day after Labor Day. It was a council meeting. The budget was going on. And this was my first exposure to the City of Farmers Branch. And I came back on Wednesday. In terms of a bit of advice, just looking back, I think about like one question that no matter what job you're interviewing for, I want you to start asking about. And that is there a system upgrade plan? No matter if you're interviewing for the chief IT job or if you're interviewing at McDonald's to be the head ice cream cone maker. Ask about it because it makes you look really smart, and you might find out there is a system upgrade plan that you have to lead. I just want to give a heartfelt thank you to John Land for you. Thank you for finding me and telling me more about the opportunity and bringing me to the city. Charles, thank you for taking the shame from the girl from heart to lead the city's finances. And I just want to say a big thank you to my team, the finance team, as well as municipal court for what they do so well. It makes my job easier. An extended thank you to all of our teams that work and collaborate so well together. makes us great, is being able to work across departments and teams so well and figure things out for the betterment of the people and the businesses of Farmers Branch. So it's a pleasure to work alongside you for 5 years. I'm just thankful that y'all took a little time out to celebrate me on this 5-year anniversary, because we have so many more important things to do and talk about. There are people to be appointed to committees and public hearings, and all of that is on the agenda. We, so many more. Francis, we celebrated you for 45 years of service to the city, and it's just really neat to be celebrated for my 5 years of service to the city, among all the other more important things, including, I don't know if y'all know, but Cardi B and Offset just had a baby. And we also need to figure out what they're going to name this child. My vote is for Cool Kleenex, you know, because the several celebrities named their names. So in the face of all those other important things, I thank you for thinking of me and giving me an opportunity to serve the city for the past 5 years. Thank you.
One more time, Sherelle Evans-Jones. I saw Jan.
Right there.
How would you know? Also, Latimer. If I told you about it, you would have left. Yeah. So next is consider acceptance of a $5,000 donation from Atmos Energy Corporation for the Farmers Branch Fire Department and take appropriate action. In August 2021, Atmos Energy expressed an interest in donating $5,000 to the Farmers Branch Fire Department. Jan Rudd, Coordinating Manager of Public Affairs for Atmos, right here, reached out to show support for the Farmers Branch Fire Department. After discussing the donation, the fire department agreed the funds would best be used to replace 10 EMS bags that are currently carried on the ambulances and fire apparatuses with the new StatPack G3 Responder EMS bags. The new StatPack G3 Responder EMS bag will organize and secure medications and equipment within internal cells so that emergency medical services can be delivered to the citizens of Farmers Branch. And Atmos has always been a wonderful partner to the city, especially you, Jan, for all the years that I've known your leadership here locally. Just want to say thank you for this donation and for what it means to our team and our first responders. And before I accept or allow us to accept that check, I'm going to let Deputy Chief Latimer say a few words first.
Well, council members, mayor, city manager, thank y'all very much for y'all's time tonight for this. First of all, thank you, Jan and John Wayne. I saw him run out, but thank you for getting us connected at our benefit we had over there, being a waiter. That was fun. And so we got running to her, but thank y'all for considering this. It's going to mean a lot of difference for us. So I'm going to have some of the guys come up real quick. They'll all come up here. And Sunshine, Jake Little, Chief Langford, and we got Lieutenant Blunt, Johnny Harris, Lucas Becker. So this is what this is about, as we know. So y'all come here. Yeah, go to the back. This is what Jan and Atlas is going to allow us with their donation to purchase 10 of these to be placed on our fireplace that you just heard about. And so this all came about thanks to our FDA service and our EMS chief with all their help, and also with these guys here going and testing it out. And doing that, it's going to allow us to provide even a better service to the city of Farmers Branch for our residents. And so it's all about these guys, these are the ones that do the work out there for us and take care of our community. And so thank you for that. And so just a little, we're going to go ahead and on the thing that they're going to set this. All right, so here we go. We're counting on them, okay? So on behalf of the Farmers Branch Fire Department, thank you for your donation of $5,000 from Atlas Energy Corporation. Your generous donation will be used to place 10 US bags that are currently carried on ambulances and firefighters with the new Stat Pack D3 responder ambulance bags. So this is to you. So thank you very much. And thank you all very much.
Real quick, I'll just move to approve the acceptance of the $5,000 donation from Atlas Energy Corporation for the Farmers Branch Fire Department.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Lynn. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passes unanimously. Mrs. Rugg? I'm gonna walk that right over there. 5 years.
Really, Mayor and Council, and residents as well. You probably asked the question, why is Atlas Energy interested in supporting the fire department? Your first responders every day respond to natural gas emergencies that involve our employees. And you are providing protection to the people I call my work brothers and sisters. And it's because of this partnership and the safety that you provide, not only for us, but also for your community. We want to support you in your efforts, and, just every now and then, it's our opportunity to say thank you. On a personal note, we're nearing the 20th anniversary of the tragedies that happened on September 11th. And personally, it gives me a view of what public service really means. And you do that every single day, and you protect our employees as well as the community. And it's just a really small way for us to say thank you. Enjoy that product.
Next is our report on study session items, which we led by Councilmember Ratana.
Thank you, Mayor. So first, we had discuss regular agenda items. Councilmember Lynn had questions regarding I-4 and I-5 related to the expenses and specifically an event associated with I-5 as well. A2 was the discussion and provide direction for the mayor's I-35 Veterans Task Force recommendation. The project is the widening of the I-35 corridor and enhancements at the Valwood and Valley View intersections. TxDOT's contract is expected to finalize later this month, and there was a recommendation to move forward with the enhancements proposed by the task force, which would come out at $800,000 less than projected. Next, we have A3, received biannual update from the Senior Advisory Board, which was given by our chair, Deborah Hall, along with several members of the Senior Advisory Board. They're open and ready with increased membership and programming. So great, successful biannual report from them. A4, discuss the city manager's proposed fiscal year 2021-22 balanced budget and proposed current year amended budget. We discussed ARPA funding allocation. We also discussed a budget at the existing tax rate of 0.589, which would generate about $1.4 million that would be allowed for additional spending and in addition to an additional officer. And finally, we have A5, discuss future agenda items. Councilmember Merritt wanted an update on the performance management metrics dashboard. Councilmember Lynn wants to discuss and take a look at screening for AC at top of the library, as well as foliage at the 635 intersections, specifically Marsh Lane. Councilmember Williams wants an update on on the Facebook, Farmers Branch app, not the Facebook app. That's what I get for abbreviating. And then also, I would like an update on redistricting as appropriate. So with that, that is all I have. For all those watching, if you would like more details on the study session discussion, I encourage you to review the council video once available, or feel free to reach out to your respective council member for questions. And with that, Mayor, that is all I have.
Thank you, Councilmember Ratana. Next is the city manager's report on items of community interest.
Thank you, Mayor. Our newest citizen survey will become available online to all residents Thursday, September the 9th. It's much shorter than previous versions and will solicit feedback on quality of life, city services, and other important topics. Results will be used by city officials for community planning and resource allocation. The final edition of Denton Drive Live will close out the season on September the 11th with classic rock and tribute bands ZZ Tex and Texas Flood at the Grove at Mustang Crossing from 6 until 10 p.m. During this event, there will be free parking, kids' activities, and concessions for purchase, along with the live bands that will bring decades of experience to the stage. Don't miss the online registration for the Rawhide Slow Roll with the Mayor. The bike ride will take place on September the 18th, beginning at Orrin Good Park at 9 a.m., rain or shine. This free event provides an opportunity to get outdoors and get active. Visit farmersbranch.bike for more information. The Animal Adoption Center has joined with shelters across the country to find homes for pets in need with the Clear the Shelters adoption campaign. Fees are reduced through September the 12th, after which all fees will be waived until the end of the campaign on September the 18th. Stop by the Animal Adoption Center now to view available dogs and cats and help clear the shelter. Another round of Farmers Branch Power Switch is kicked off this month. Power Switch is a group energy buying program that allows residents to join together and benefit from lower electricity rates through volume purchasing. Register for this program online at texaspowerswitch.com by September the 21st. Viva Farmers Branch, a celebration of Hispanic and Latin culture, has been set for September the 25th at the Grove at Mustang Station, featuring mariachi music, dancing, food, free kid activities, and more. For additional info, visit fbspecialevents.com. September is National Preparedness Month. In observance of this, the city's emergency staff are encouraging and urging anyone to sign up for branch alerts by texting FB Alert to 888-777. Each week, information will be published to raise awareness of the importance to prepare for disasters and emergencies. And finally, you can sign up for e-news at farmersbranchtx.gov to have current city news and information delivered directly to your email box. And with that, Mayor, that's the city manager report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cox. Next is citizen comments. We don't have any eligible speakers signed up tonight, so next is our consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I registered to speak tonight and was refused that right. And I don't understand why this law was passed that people can't speak at a city council meeting because city council passed a 30-day or 40-day waiting period. So I did register to vote, and I know some other people registered to vote that y'all refused to hear the citizens of Farmers Branch, which I'm not sure why.
Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to stop speaking at this time. On the form that you filled out, it does say no person may register to speak during citizen comments more than once within a 30-day period on the same subject.
I never did get that memo.
What's on the form that you filled out?
I didn't fill out a form.
So how did you sign up?
I registered by telephone.
Okay, it was explained. Yeah, and I also explained it to you outside in a lot of detail.
That's fine. Thank you,
Yeah,
Mayor.
yeah, yeah. I get it. Yep. Well, we're still on the consent agenda, so do we have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
I have a motion by Councilmember Merritt,
Second.
second by Councilmember Driscoll. Any more discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Passes unanimously. Next is our public hearings. J1, conduct a public hearing and consider adopting ordinance number 3702, prohibiting the use of and the contact with designated groundwater beneath 9.998 acres of land located in the Francis Miller Survey, abstract number 926, and the William Pulliam Survey, abstract number 1171, Farmers Branch, Texas, located at 2019 Valley View Lane to facilitate certification of a municipal settings designation by the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality and take appropriate action.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Jawaria Tareen, Environmental Health Manager. Today, the public hearing is about approving ordinance number 3702, prohibiting the contact and use of groundwater located at property 2019 Valley View Lane. I will be presenting a brief about MSD, what MSD municipal setting designation is, and then I will request applicant's representative, Ms. Valerie Honeycutt. She will come here and present the application, as well as answer any question that you may have. The applicant is seeking municipal setting designation, which is a state designation given to a property within a municipality that certifies that the groundwater at the property is not used as a potable water and is prohibited from future use as a potable water. This prohibition must be in the form of a city ordinance. Although TCEQ is our primary permitting authority, it does require local support in the form of a city ordinance. For an application to be considered eligible for MSD, property must be located within the municipal jurisdiction. Also, the jurisdiction has to have public water supply system that not only provides water to the MSD property, but also to the properties located within 1/2 mile radius of the property. Since this application met the municipal setting requirements, application was reviewed and staff recommends approving the application. At 6:35, public notices were sent out to the residents as well as to the businesses. A public meeting was held on August 24th, where the application was supposed to be presented and to answer any question that the residents or the businesses may have. We did not have any show from the public or the residents or the businesses. Next step in this process is public hearing, where today, if the council approves and supports the application, it will be submitted to TCEQ, Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, for certification. If the certification is approved, deed recording is the final step. Now, I'll request Ms. Valerie Honeycutt, applicant's representative. She is here to present the application, also answer any question that you may have. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. My name is Valerie Honeycutt, as she said, and I work for a company called Coos & Associates, an environmental consulting firm that represents the owner of this property, who is here, Mr. Steve Kemper, sitting over there in the white shirt. We're here to request a municipal setting designation, or MSD, from the city of Farmers Branch. As Jawaria mentioned, the property for which we're seeking the MSD is located at 2019 Valley View Lane and is developed, oh, you know what I need to do? I need to put my thing here. There we go. It's developed with an office warehouse building occupied by Total Roofing and Reconstruction, the property owner, and then Alpha Star Appliances and Rugs, so they have a tenant. Next slide here. Okay, I'm experimenting here. All right, good. So a Phase 1 environmental site assessment was conducted in 2017 when the current owner purchased the property. The site assessment identified a semiconductor manufacturing facility that occupied the property from about 1969 to 81. The TCQ file review identified an investigation that had been conducted in the early 2000s all the way through about 2015 that found chlorinated solvents in both soil and groundwater, with a contamination plume in the groundwater extending west from Hutton Drive. So you're looking at from here all the way, it went all the way across this whole area. Okay. The on-site former semiconductor facility is a very possible and probable source for the contamination. So based on those results, we put the property into the TCQ Voluntary Cleanup Program. That's abbreviated VCP, so if I say VCP, that's what that is, on December 6, 2017. And I installed 13 groundwater monitoring wells on-site and off-site during investigations between 2017 and 2020. And a majority of them are here on-site. There we go. There's one off-site here, 2 off-site on the fire department properties. Hope you can see my little arrow. So the wells, 10 of them were installed in 2018 on the property. Chlorinated solvents, we detected them above the TCQ protective concentration levels. It's PCL, it's just the number that they look for. It's a acceptable level. And so we were above in a few places. So the TCQ requested upgrading and downgrading investigation, on either side of it. Downgrading is towards the fire department. So they wanted on both sides. And Farmers Branch, City of Farmers Branch, who I was already talking to the environmental guys here, also wanted that. So we put in the 2 down gradient wells, which are 11 and 12 on the fire department property. And then we put 1 up gradient well at 2051 Valley View Lane after we talked to the Moody Labs folks. And nothing found on the fire department property. It's clean. The groundwater was fine, and so was the soil. But we found contamination in MW13 on the east adjacent property. So the City of Farmers Branch requested when we did this MSD that we put their property, the fire department property, include that in the MSD, and then we're also including in the MSD the Moody Lab property. The in-between property is covered with the innocent owner and operator certificate. So just to let you know, let's see. So the green line shows the boundary of the MSD. It goes down the street over and then encompasses these 2 sites there. So that's the property that will actually be included, not just 2019, but everything within the green. Let me switch here. Okay. So the groundwater investigation results. I'm going to give you some technical stuff because it's hard to not. Shallow groundwater bearing zone. It's shallow, and it is between 10 and 20 feet below ground surface. I encountered the groundwater at about 10 to 12 feet below. So it extends to about 20 to a shale. The bedrock is about 20 feet down, as I said, and that is on top of what they call the Eagle Ford Shale Formation. It's about 200 to 400 feet thick. It's what they call an aquitard, which basically is a formation that only allows a small amount of liquid through. So that's a good thing. We have an aquitard fairly close to the surface there. So the aquitard is located between the affected groundwater, which is that shallow zone, and the underlying Woodbine Trinity aquifers that provide some groundwater to some wells in the area, although a lot of folks use lake water here. So as part of the MSD process, the TCQ requires us to locate all water wells within a 5-mile radius of this site. So we did that, 136 of them, and had to send them notifications, including to this meeting. But all but 2 of those wells are more than a half-mile away. The 2 that are within a half-mile radius have to be located on the property that has previously received an MSD, the Kensington MSD on the GNB site, across the road and over to the west. So those 2 wells don't exist anymore, but those are the only 2 that are actually within a half-mile radius. So no local water wells are threatened or affected. So this figure that I've got shows the maximum concentration of the chlorinated solvent. We call it, abbreviation is PCE, or tetrachloroethylene. Long story why the T and the P, don't want to get into that. So the highest concentration is in, is in this well over here to the east. And I think that's the highest concentration, and the groundwater direction, as I said, is going that way to off the screen. So moving to the next screen. So we found PCE, and we also found TCE, which is trichloroethylene. This one shows the maximum concentration of TCE, which actually isn't very much above the PCL. We have more of a PCE problem than a TCE problem, and that's hard to say. So again, those are the 2 chlorinated solvents that I found, and mostly the highest one of this one is just in that up gradient well. As I mentioned before, can I go back? Yeah, there we go. The PCE is in up gradient and 2 of the wells on the property, and the TCE is just confined to the up gradient. I found some, but it's not above the PCL, which is the protective concentration level. All right, so soil, that was the groundwater investigation. Chlorinated solvents detected in the soil above the critical PCL was just in that 1 up gradient well on the Moody Labs property. And using the MSD, I don't know if I mentioned this did I say it in the previous, the MSD, using it allows us to remove the ingestion exposure pathway for risk. It's a risk-based assessment, and basically with the MSD, They don't want, the TCQ doesn't want you drinking this water, right? They don't want people drinking the water. So the way you remove that as an exposure pathway is you don't let people drink the water, right? And the way you don't let people drink the water in this case is you don't allow waters to be drilled or wells to be drilled, and you put an ordinance in so that people can't do that. So when you remove the ingestion exposure pathway, then we don't have to use the ingestion PCL, we use the non-ingestion PCL, which is a higher number. You can have more of the contaminant if you're not going to be drinking the water. So the soil, again, so we can remove the ingestion exposure pathway, use the non-ingestion, and then the soil is not an issue. There's no other contaminants in the soil besides the PCE. I'll read my stuff here. No other contaminants in the soil besides the PCE or in groundwater besides PCE and TCE that exceed the ingestion PCLs, which are the ones that I initially had to look at, either on-site or off-site. So these are the PCLs used without applying the MSD. We apply the MSD, and we use the non-ingestion PCLs. Everything's below those. So the soil and groundwater contaminant concentrations are protective of human health and the environment for all exposure pathways except drinking the groundwater, and that's prohibited by the MSD. And I know this is really, like I said, it's very exciting stuff for those people who aren't in the science thing, but I'm sorry. I apologize. To summarize, I'm summarizing. MSD allows a property owner to clean up a groundwater to a lesser standard than that of potable drinkable water if no water wells are impacted by that contamination. So that's the whole point. But the cleanup still meets the TCQ risk assessment requirements. The risk assessment standard requires that the cleanup remains protective of human health and the environment, and that's the important thing. So we protect human health and the environment by restricting the groundwater and by removing the possibility of drinking it. As Drury already said, the next step is submitting a report to the TCQ. If this is approved, I take the ordinance and give it to the TCQ. They do a very thorough review and either approve or deny, and they generally at that point, you know, if I follow all the steps, they will probably approve it. And then we get closure of the property through the VCP. And thank you so much. I appreciate your time and I'm available to answer any questions.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And just for a quick clarification, I think I heard you address it in your presentation, but this is the same designation that we have across the street in the
Correct.
Kensington Estates portion of.
Exact same thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to know. I'll start since it's your district, Councilmember Ratana.
Thank you so much. And as I have a chemistry degree, I do appreciate and
Yes.
actually understood half of what you were saying.
I'm
it was
so
great.
glad.
Felt really, really happy. No, I don't have any questions. I did look into kind of what we did last time. I think the only thing is and looking at the current properties there, they wouldn't need any potable water, I'm assuming, but what would be the avenue for them to be able to get that since this would not be available to them?
So the potable water is supplied by the city through the drinking water system. So that's their source of potable water. That's the
Okay.
only way you get this. You have to provide a potable water source. if
Got
we're
it. So we
restricted
just be
groundwater.
providing an alternative.
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Councilmember Driscoll.
I have no questions at this time. Thank you for your clarification of a complex thing, at least for some of us.
I do apologize for the complexity. It's hard to.
Awesome. Councilmember Williams.
I also don't have any further questions, but I really appreciate your hard work and for making sure that our drinking waters are all being monitored and that we're following the guidelines as directed. So
It is that.
I appreciate your hard work.
Thank you.
Councilmember Lynn.
I have a couple of questions, please. So the wells that you drill, they'll stay there in perpetuity? Can they be checked in the future?
They will not. Once we get the closure from the state, we will plug those
You'll plug
wells.
them. Okay.
Yes.
So obviously, with the designation, it's non-potable water, I get that.
Mm-hmm.
But could the current or future property owner put a well in to do watering outside?
I think the answer to that is no. Am I?
Yes, keep in mind, this only restricts the use of the uppermost aquifer. You got 2 more aquifers, which are probably better water you want to use anyway. There's not a lot of water in the uppermost aquifer.
Okay.
So they could still drill a well to the Trinity or the Woodbine if he can get it on his site. The question is if he has the space in the back there to do that.
Okay.
But the restriction is only to the uppermost aquifer.
Okay, so
Councilmember Merritt.
that's a good clarification, sorry.
Thank you for your presentation. Just one clarifying question, and I do believe you said it, that the ground soil will not have to be removed because it's actually above the levels, it's in an acceptable level?
It is at an acceptable level with the non-ingestion PCL. That is correct, with the MSD PCL. So yeah, it's not terribly contaminated soil, and it's a pretty small area, and it was probably just kind of caused by the coming out of the groundwater, you know what I mean? And yeah, it's a small amount, and it is below the PCL we will be moving to if this is approved.
And as I said, you stated that. I just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure that we were clear and
Yeah.
that surface dirt does not have to be removed.
And I should have told you, that's at 9 to 10 feet below ground surface, so it is not at the surface, it's at the groundwater interface.
Thank you.
So
for
the surface soil
clarification.
is in fact fine. I took samples above and below, and so above is good. Just at that groundwater interface, that's the only contaminated.
Thank you very much for the clarification. No other questions, Mayor. Thank you.
Does anyone else have any additional questions? Okay, this is a public hearing. We do not have anyone signed up to speak tonight. So with that, I will look for a motion to close the public hearing and take action.
Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number 3702
And close the public hearing?
and close the public hearing, of course.
Okay.
I second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Ratana, second by Councilmember Williams. Is there any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it, council members.
Next is J2, conduct a public hearing and consider approving resolution number 2021-123 for a submission of a grant application to Texas Parks and Wildlife, local parks, non-urban, outdoor recreation for Oren Good Playground and take appropriate action. Is the Monster Mash? I'm guessing it's you?
I think so. There's still a few people left, but mostly staff, so I think it's me. Yeah. Okay, so as you recall, sorry, Mike Mashburn, Director of Parks and Recreation. As you recall, at the budget retreat, we had spoke about doing a signature park at Oren Good, all children's park. What you're looking at today is the approval for us to submit for a grant that would be a matching grant, up to $750,000 in matching funds. And so what you'll see in your packet is this would be allocated towards the tot lot. One stipulation is the land would have to be dedicated as park space forever and always at that point. If we're spending $1.5 million just on that site and $4 million on the park, I think it's safe to assume that's probably not going away anytime soon. So that's why this is coming forward now. You asked maybe why now, why not next budget season? The grant is due October 1. And so if we're going to do the park, this is a great opportunity to get $750,000. If you change your mind on the park as far as budget's concerned, we would withdraw the grant. That's all.
Awesome. All right. Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions or comments for Mr. Mashburn?
I just have one. Is there, with this grant, does it set a timeline on when those funds can be utilized?
I believe it's 24 months.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that fits our current budgetary
Yes.
plans
Mhm.
for
Yes.
that phase? Okay.
Yes.
Perfect.
Any more questions? This is a public hearing. Again, we don't have anyone signed up to speak, so with that, I will look for a motion to close the public hearing and take action.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve R 2021-123 as presented. And close the public hearing.
Reverse order. I have a motion by Councilmember Driscoll. I have a second by Councilmember Merritt. Is there any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Passes unanimously. Good luck. J3, conduct a public hearing on the proposed fiscal year 2021-22 operating capital improvement budget in accordance with Article 4 of the City Charter and take appropriate action. Mrs. Evans-Jones. Yeah.
Hello, Mayor and Council. Sherelle Evans-Jones, Director of Finance with the city, here to talk a little bit about the 2021-22 budget. This will be, for those who watched study session or attended, this will be some similar information, but bear with me because there may be some people watching here that might not have watched during study session. So just to kind of update the public, these are kind of some of the key steps that we've undergone in terms of getting to where we are with our budget. The budget is available for anyone's review, and here is the URL. It's on our website. You can just go to the bottom of that first, Farmers Branch, tx.gov, and there's a link that should take you right there. One other point that I think is good to mention for those interested in getting more information about the budget retreat, which happened on August 10th, 11th, and 12th, was recorded, and that is available on our Farmers Branch YouTube channel. The public hearing item that we have before us today is to consider the maximum tax rate and to set the date for the upcoming public hearing. And so what I will talk through in our next slide is just some of the changes that have happened since the budget. If someone were to go and take a look at the budget now, these changes that I'm about to speak on are not reflected in the document that was put out prior to that. In our previous session with council, we talked about some changes and tweaks that we wanted to make it to the way and the method that our ARPA funding was allocated. And we also talked about some opportunities in terms of a change to the tax rate that is being used to calculate the budget. The budget was calculated using a 57-cent rate, but in some discussion, we talked about and decided to go with and maintain our existing tax rate of 58.9 cents. So that does not, that would be the city maintaining our existing tax rate. That we initially talked about some additional revenue that would be created, about $1.3 million from using the revised tax rate that's presented above. But with that final tweak that we talked about during our study session about 2 weeks or so ago, that changes that revenue stream to be a little bit more, because we've adjusted the tax rate upward just a hair, to an additional revenue of $1.4 million. The bullet points below that detail out the spending associated with those, with that $1.4 million to be allocated among additional funding for pay-as-you-go street projects, pay-as-you-go parks master plan, et cetera. And also, one of the major changes between the 1.3 and the 1.4 is creating a funding source for, instead of the 6 hires that we had been talking about before, that 7th hire of police officers would be able to be funded. One point of clarification or further discussion that we've had in this process talked about how many additional streets would be funded. And the Director of Public Works, Mark Bentley, came and talked with us and let us know that 2 additional streets would be constructed, and the details of that were discussed in our last council meeting. And lastly, the Parks Master Plan is something that was approved by council in August of 2020. The last thing that I wanted to talk about was the pathway that some of these items here create in terms of increasing a non-debt funded pay-as-you-go structure that positions us for now and into the near future of lessening our need for additional debt in order to take care of some of these key infrastructure type items and key services and things that people look to the city for. I shared this during our study session, and that is just an overall understanding for any of the members of the public that are watching, to help you to understand that your overall tax bill is divided among several different taxing jurisdictions, Farmers Branch being one of those at about 23.8%. But the sizable portion of anyone in this community's tax bill is going to the school district, the Carrollton Farmers Branch ISD School District. And then you can just see from the graphic some of the other areas in which the tax obligation, the property tax obligation is spread. The one caveat that I want to place on this particular slide is that it's dated. So it will be outdated fairly shortly in that there are many, all these jurisdictions are considering their budgets and their associated tax rates. And so we would expect that to have more updated information after September 30th when they conduct their similar business to come up with whatever their tax rates will be. We'll update this and share this with council and any parties that are interested. And after this meeting, I think there was some interest in just getting a copy of this one, just recognizing that it will be out of date shortly. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Evans Jones, thank you very much. Always thorough. Okay. I'm going to start down on this end. Councilmember Merritt.
Thank you, Sherelle, for all the work that you've done and your staff. And as you've been very gracious with your time, along with city manager, of addressing questions that I had personally on the budget. And I appreciate that greatly. I don't have anything other than a recap, if you will, of two things. One, could you also elicit the distribution of commercial property versus residential property in the tax base for this year? And then the second question, could you address the amount of funds that we have in our debt service fund? And which is, to my point, hopefully to convey that our debt service fund is relatively low.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Okay. So your first portion of your question the city's property tax base is primarily commercial. 73% of the overall $6.9 billion of valuation, 73% of that is commercial. So smaller portion going to the residential community. And then in terms of your question about debt service, I'm remembering that number from my sheet. I believe it's in the $6 million number compared to a $135 million budget. So our debt service is about $6 million of the $135 million. I'm going to need y'all to do the math on that to figure out the percentage.
You did very well. You passed.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. No other questions, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Lynn. Councilmember Williams.
I have no other questions either, so thank you so much for all the hard work.
Councilmember Driscoll.
Yes, thank you very much. I think you answered all of my questions and other council members asked in the study session. And I'd just like to add my comments. I think that it's a pretty sound budget. I've thought a lot about it, discussed it with different people, and I think the city's in very good financial shape. And that's a compliment to you and to Charles Cox, city manager. And you know, as I said at the budget retreat, we don't know what the future holds in terms of the economy with the COVID, when, you know, we can put all this in the rearview mirror, but I feel very confident, you know, looking into the future that our city finances are in very good shape. And I have one technical question, which is nothing with the budget. How real-time is your data on sales tax and hotel, motel, property tax?
On sales tax, we receive the cash about 2 months after the person would go in the store to make the sale. So we see that data about 2 months afterwards. And then you asked about
Hotel, motel?
Hotel, motel, they report the month following. So they close their month, a month passes, and then they report in a month following.
So you usually get the hotel, motel tax information earlier than you get the sales?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Councilmember Rotana.
No questions. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. All right, this is a public hearing. We don't have anyone signed up to speak to this item, so with that, I will look for a motion to close the public hearing and take action.
Mayor, I'll be happy to have a motion to close the public hearing, and then, if I can read the right one here, is that all we need to do, is just close the public hearing?
On that one, yes.
Okay, so we'll just close the public hearing.
Okay. I have a motion to close the public hearing. Second by Councilmember Rotana. First motion was by Councilmember Merritt. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passed unanimously.
Can we go ahead then?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I thought you were
Sorry.
handling both.
Yes, I was going to try to handle them both, but I only had the instructions on one page. So let's see if I want to read this correctly. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve scheduling a public hearing and proposal to consider adopting a maximum property rate of 0.589.
That's the next one. You need J3.
Yeah.
Do you have a motion for this?
There was no action.
So they closed the public hearing. I didn't hear a motion to take the action on the
There's no
one.
action. There's no action.
Okay.
You go to K1.
Okay.
K1, consider adopting a motion to that's my bad. Place a proposal to consider adopting maximum property tax rate of 0.0589 on the city council agenda on September 21st, 2021. Schedule a public hearing on the proposed maximum property tax rate for September 21st, 2021 at 6 p.m. to be held at the City of Farmers Branch City Hall Council Chambers located at 13,000 William Dodson Parkway, Farmers Branch, Texas 75234, and take appropriate action. Okay, now.
Third time being the charm?
Yep.
Perhaps. Let me get it right again. Thank you for being tolerant. So, Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve scheduling a public hearing and proposal to consider adopting a maximum property rate of 0.589 cents on the dollar on the City Council agenda for September 21st, 2021 at 6 p.m. Both meetings will be held at the City of Farmers Branch City Hall Council Chambers located at 13,000 William Dodson Parkway, Farmers Branch, Texas 75234.
I second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Merritt, a second by Councilmember Williams. Is there any more discussion? We didn't have anyone signed up to speak on this item, so I just want to put that as part of the record. I will do a roll call vote. Oh,
So if you say 59 cents on the dollar, is that?
589 cents.
Did we get the rate that we wanted, or did we get 1/100th of the rate that we wanted?
We got the maximum,
589?
but it's just the maximum.
That is the maximum.
Not
Based
the
on the
actual
dollar, it
proposed.
was a little, let's see.
No, you got to say the magic words.
Take out on the dollar.
So a tax rate of 0.589.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Have to speak the magic words.
I think I did add on the dollar.
Yeah.
I was like,
we
ooh, if
good?
we ended up with a percentage of the rate, you would be sick.
with that clarification, we are good.
Fair enough.
Okay, I will do a record vote. Councilmember Merritt,
Aye.
Councilmember Lynn,
Yes.
Councilmember Williams, Councilmember Driscoll,
Aye.
Councilmember Rotana. Passes 5-0. Next is K2, consider appointment of the chairperson of the Sustainability Committee and take appropriate action. Go ahead, Councilmember Lynn.
Mayor, we didn't discuss this in study session, but there were two people that expressed interest in being the chair, both of which are on the Sustainability Committee. I would nominate Joseph Rigel to be the chair of that. He's lived in the city longer. He is retired, so he has more time to devote to being chairperson of that committee. So guess I'll look for a second.
Does anyone else have any comments or discussion based on?
don't have any comments. I think either, I have no preference. I think either would be a great addition, and they both showed interest. So I think that unless anybody has any reservations, I would second Councilmember Lynn's, I don't know, Councilmember Lynn, did you make a motion or did you just make a recommendation of what you wanted? Councilmember Lynn? Did you make a motion or did you just make a recommendation?
Yeah, I think I made a motion, but.
Can you just remake that motion and I would be happy
Sure.
to second it?
I move to
Unless
appoint.
there's any reservations. Does
Sure.
anybody have any reservations?
I'm sorry. I move to appoint Joseph Reigel as chairman of the Sustainability Committee.
I have a motion by Councilmember Lynn,
Second.
second by Councilmember Rotana. Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Passes unanimously. Next is take any action necessary as a result of the closed executive session.
Mayor, I make a motion to authorize the city manager to negotiate and execute an economic development agreement and any amendments thereto on behalf of the city of Farmers Branch for Project Miracle to provide an economic development incentive consisting of an economic development grant of $75,000 to be paid in 2 installments, with the first installment of $37,500 paid on lease execution, and the second installment of $37,500 to be paid when certificate of occupancy is issued, provided that the company leases and occupies at least 2,500 square feet of space at 13050 B Street 100 for a period of at least 5 years, and 2, operates a restaurant at the leased premises for a period of at least 5 years, subject to the standard terms and conditions.
I have a motion by Councilmember Williams. I'll second that. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passes unanimously. Is that for all our motions? I think so. All right. Seeing no more business to conduct, I'll adjourn tonight's meeting at 7:02. Have a good night.